How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Gundam card game video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today we're going to be going over what the best decks currently are in the Gundam card game. Now, the first set, Newtype Rising, actually just launched very recently, just last Friday. However, there have been, several tournaments and community run events that have been going on since that launch, and also previously with running proxy cards and all that kind of stuff. Typically, I'd like to wait on a video like this until things have actually settled out, but I think this will be a good snapshot of what decks to initially look at and maybe how to counteract the meta. So we are actually going to be jumping into our overlay. Here's the key art for the first set, Newtype Rising, and we're going to be going over to this website. This is the Eggman Events website that is basically hosted and run by the YouTuber Eggman, which is, he's a great dude. I actually got to meet him a little while ago when I was at the Gundam World Premiere event. We both got invited. He was actually sitting across from me. But he hosted a 64-player, 6 Swiss round tournament, and, well, here we have some of the results. And I want to say again, take all this with a grain of salt. I do not think the meta is solved. We are still really early into the Gundam card game set 1, and I think there's a lot of room for innovation, and, well, frankly, a lot of people just don't have their hands on cards yet, and the sample size is very small. Not to discount the deck building quality of the players here, but I'm just saying that the sample size is small, and not a lot of people have been able to actually get their hands on it and play and deck brew and iterate and all that kind of stuff. So take all this with a grain of salt, but I think this is a good snapshot of what the meta initially is going to look like and some decks that you want to look to either play or beat. Now, this one is the winning deck. This is the green-white Operation Meteor or Wing Gundam deck. This one is a pretty interesting list just because of, well, a lot of folks, at least in my sphere and like the comments, really feel like the blue-white is the most overpowered deck. Well, this is the one that won. I'm not going to say any deck is more overpowered than the other, but this one is very strong. It has some really solid early game with like Gundam Lifrith. Apologies if I pronounce that wrong. Which is a solid 2/4 blocker for 2 on level 3, just to help gum up the board and slow things down, as well as the Zawart, which I think is actually one of the best cards in the game right now. Just super efficient. Looks really simple, but it's just so good and helps slow things down and provide that crucial blocker. This deck also runs a bit of ramp with the Wing Gundam Bird mode, as well as some first contact. And what you want to do is you basically want to ramp up into something like your Death Scythe, which can then ramp you into your Wing Gundam, and finally your Wing Gundam Zero, which acts as kind of like a almost like a one-sided board wipe, depending on how you set things up, because it deals damage to all units that are level 5 or lower, 3 damage to all units that are level 5 or lower. So you can be rocking your Wing Gundam, you can be rocking your Death Scythe, and your Wing Gundam Zero does not hurt them. So that is very good. This is just a really efficient deck, and basically you want to ramp until you can get your Wing Gundam and then stabilize. It's also just really big, and if you pair it with Hero Yui, it becomes an 8/8, which is also just really difficult to deal with in the Gundam card game right now. White is a great pairing because you also have your Overflowing Affection, another card that I think is one of the best in the game right now. Super efficient, draw 2, discard 1, but the amount of card selection that you get from this is really strong, especially in a deck like this where you have a pretty big top end, and you definitely need to draw some of your early game stuff. Otherwise, you can kind of brick. If you just draw all of this stuff, well, you're probably just going to die. So cards like this, cards like the Underground Base, which is a really simple base, but it has 6 health. Just really nice for slowing stuff down. So yeah, that is the Wing Gundam deck. Honestly, compared to some of the other stuff, I would say it's in the middle of the road in terms of how expensive it is, because some of the stuff, we have some starter deck cards, but you will need your Death Scythes and you will need your Wing Gundam Zeros, both of which I've seen them starting to go up in price. So good deck. Yes, definitely one of the best in the game right now. Next up, we have the deck that a lot of people would assume is the best in the game right now, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I think it is very strong. This is the iteration of the blue-white blockers deck. There are some versions of this deck that go a little bit more Gundam Unicorn rather than it's weird that it's cutting it off here, but yes, they go more Gundam Unicorn than some of the other top end, but I kind of lump them all in the same. They're just blue-white blockers. This is a deck that I've been playing for like 6 months, or at least the deck that I was playing is like the prototype for this. I've been playing for like 6 months. You run Zawart, you run the Gundam Ifrith. Basically, if you're running white, you're going to be running these. You have Rezael, which is just good stats, as well as stuff like Anksha, good pinger here. Just a lot of like early game board control, and then you just try to outvalue your opponent with just really, really efficient stuff. Everything from your Ale Strike Gundam and your Perfect Strike Gundam, cards that were all-stars in my opinion from the beta kit, including the new... Let's see if I can get this better on screen. Well, we have the new Freedom Gundam here, which is just another really, really good card and the most expensive card in this deck. In fact, this is the thing that makes this deck, you know, a little expensive at all. Otherwise, you just slam together some starter decks and you're good to go. Though the Perfect Strike Gundam, in terms of cost, is like a $10 rare right now if you don't already have some from the beta kit. But other than that, it's still like not too much of an expensive deck outside of the Freedom Gundam, which is like 30 or 40 bucks right now. Really, really solid deck. And I've talked to Death about this kind of strategy and this kind of deck. For this particular list, I personally would run more Overflowing Affections rather than the show. Well, I'll probably cut something out of here. It's difficult to say, honestly, but yeah, I like Overflowing Affection quite a bit. Is what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, this deck is really, really good, and definitely a fairly simple deck to pilot, to be honest. A lot of people say this is like a control deck, but it's more like a board control deck. You just have blockers, you have some efficient like bounce type cards, like with the Ale Strike Gundam and the Perfect Strike Gundam. Efficient board control between Amuro Ray and Kiriyamato, and then you have the Archangel to kind of set up attacks. Then you can then reactivate your dudes so they can actually do their block. Yeah, solid deck. This is one of the decks that I am building and that I am personally going to be playing quite a bit. In fact, I'm probably going to try to build all of these, but we'll have to see how my booster boxes go. Next up, this one is a really interesting deck that I really, really want to play. This is a red-blue, and I believe people call this like a Cyber Newtype style deck. This is like a pinger deck, right? You have a lot of cards in this deck that just deal 1 damage directly to units. So we have like the Gun Tank, we have the Anksha, we have the, I do believe the Delta Plus also does. Oh no, this is the 3-drop 4/4. Yeah, this one's pretty sweet. 3-drop 4/4 that also has repair. And this one is the pinger, the Kshatriya. This is the LR Kshatriya. When it's paired with the Cyber Newtype, pilot, choose 1 to 2 enemy units, and you ping them each for 1. Pretty solid, especially when you pair it with Marita Cruz, which is an absolute all-star who also does some ping damage. Combine that with your boy Amuro Ray, who will enable you to attack into stuff, and you have a pretty good setup for just controlling the board. And if you can kind of see like an ongoing theme here, heavy board control focus, heavy board control focus, heavy board control focus. The Gundam card game is a game, right now at least, of board control. You want to maximize your board control and minimize the number of cards that you do to do that, and so you want to have like a lot of 2-for-1 effects, which is exactly what these pingers do. This is a deck, like I said, that I really, really want to try out, especially since Marita Cruz is one of my favorite characters from Gundam. So yeah, I like her quite a bit. So that is this deck, and then we have a 4th deck that I think people may be sleeping on a little bit. This is a Xeon style aggro deck, and this one runs blue instead of red. Now, I actually think a blue-red version is viable, and I actually think a blue-red version can be very, very good. It's one that I'm going to be personally testing out and playing quite a bit. But my version, I think, is going to end up being a little bit more mid-range than it is going to be more like the all-in aggro, because I think there's a lot of solid breach cards, as well as some solid high maneuver stuff, so you can actually get past a lot of the blockers if you see this blocker deck running up in the meta, or if you are playing against a slower deck like the Wing Gundam style deck, you can kind of just run them over if they stumble at all. So I do want to build a well, I already have a Xeon style deck, but I'm going to be upgrading it when I get my boxes. What makes this one interesting, like I said, it is a uses blue as well. So we have just a gem unit, nice little 1-drop 2/2 stats. We have the Gun Tank, which once again does a little bit of ping damage. The Unksha also does a little bit of ping damage, and then we have the white base to just help make units as a base. We also have, since we're running a little bit more into green, we have like the Wing Gundam and Hero Yui package, just because they're super efficient, and then some excellent stuff like Char pairing up with this Gelgoog, as well as Char's Zaku. Some things that I personally would I'm not sure if I would say I definitely would change. I would change, not particularly for this build, but for my own personal build. I think Char Zaku 2 is really, really good because it's one of those cards that actually really helps you maintain board control. And then I also really like Char's Gelgoog over just this regular Gelgoog, which is fine. It's just a big stats dude, but I prioritize effects over just raw stats, generally speaking, in card games. But I really love the inclusion of Rickdom here. I think Rickdom's fantastic, and it's one that I've been running ever since the beta. I think it's really, really good. So yeah, this is just like a blue-green version. I know a lot of people really, really like this version, but I think there is a red version out there that is viable, and I will be playing it. So yeah, those are the 4 decks that I really wanted to talk about today. We have, once again, to kind of go over them, we have the green-white Wing Gundam deck. We have the blue-white blocker-style deck. We have the blue-red, like pinger-style deck, direct damage style deck. And then we have this blue-green Xeon. The red Xeon is just in my head. We have this Xeon aggro deck. So I think these are all very viable decks. But once again, I'd like to reiterate, I don't think the meta is 100% solved, and I think there is some room for innovation out there. So don't take all of the stuff just as like hard fact, like this is the best deck, this is the best deck. I think they are among the best decks in the game currently, but I think there's innovation, and I think we might see some breakout decks as we get into larger scale events and people start actually getting their hands on cards to actually play test them. I know a lot of folks like me, you want to actually have the physical cards to play with instead of just doing proxies or like digital, tabletop simulator type stuff. But hey, shout out to all the people who did that and, helped, spearhead this kind of stuff. So yeah, that is the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what decks you are building in the Gundam card game right now. Is it any one of those 4 that we talked about, or do you have a really, really spicy brew? I think, once again, I think a red-green Xeon deck is there. Doesn't necessarily have to be like a carbon copy of the starter deck, but I think Full Frontal is kind of cracked. I think he's just one of the best pilots in the game, and I think a deck that uses him to good advantage could be very, very strong. In games like this, games that I have a really long history of playing, like Shadowverse, for example, and this game plays very, very, very similarly to Shadowverse. Cards that make more cards, like Full Frontal, you put them down and then you're able to play another unit, are very, very good. Combined with stuff like the Goof, which also makes another unit, I think there's something to be had there. So let me know what you are building, what you are playing in the Gundam card game, or if you're one of the folks who haven't gotten your booster product yet, like me actually, I haven't got my boosters yet. I have 5 on the way. We'll get there. We'll have a video. But let me know what you want to build if you are like me and haven't had your booster product yet. So thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, I guess. All right. See you later.